because I haven't had any ghosts or anything like that. Like, I've had a few buddies that have explained some ghosts. Also, a black Ford Explorer used to follow my friend Tim, who you've met, who I think he did your podcast, right? Did he tell that story?
No.
I mean, it's a ghost story that's so crazy because him and his buddy got chased by this one car and they never saw a driver behind the wheel. And it was like it drove onto yards and like that and like following them and shit. And it was like some real scary shit.
Oh my God.
Guess who's coming back on the podcast?
Yeah, well, hopefully he's fucking bedridden with spiritual AIDS or whatever the hell he has.
Spiritual AIDS.
Yeah, Lyme disease AIDS. So I had this experience where I went to Hawaii a few years ago with my now wife, and we did this thing called the Road to Hana. Have you done that? Or have you ever
I've
been
heard
there?
of that. That was one of the. You went to Maui?
Yeah. So we did Kauai, Maui, and the Big Island. It was like one of the best trips of my life.
Oh,
If
cool.
you have the means, highly recommend. But the Road to Hana is basically you rent a car, you can download a whole tour guide of the whole thing. You see like 39 waterfalls as you drive up this narrow mountain. At the top, you have to drive through like this weird harrowing path, and it's kind of a nightmare.
Did you rent a
driving.
Jeep? Did you
No,
rent one of those Jeeps?
we didn't. So we actually stopped at the volcanic ash beach. But this is why. So we're driving up the whole thing. It's raining the entire time, but we're taking pictures of waterfalls. There's barely any people camping or getting into them, so we're just kind of making our way up. We get to the volcanic ash beach with our lunch. We sit down at this table, and like 50 cardinals just surrounded us. Like cardinals, which were my grandfather's, and I think a lot of people's, but my grandfather's favorite bird. And he was like kind of my actual dad, and he had passed away at like a few years at this point. And but I've had like lucid weird dreams about him and with him and stuff like that. So there was like 50 cardinals, and I'm just like, wow, this is pretty crazy. I've never experienced anything like this. Wasn't high, wasn't on hallucinogens, didn't have a beer, anything like that. Then I went down to the beach, and I just kind of stood at the water, and I smelled them. Like full smell, like
your grandfather,
my grandfather,
Holy
like goosebumps
shit.
on my arms, and I'm just like, this is crazy. Like I'm like crying on the beach, and I'm just like, this is like the weirdest feeling. So much like actual familiarity mixed in with the sensation of the smell, mixed in with like all this. I knew he loved Hawaii, and he'd been there a bunch, and like all this stuff. And so we get done, and I'm like, wow, that was a crazy experience. We're going to drive back down the hill, and you have no cell reception up towards the top. So my mother was actually living with her mom, my grandfather's wife, at the time, and I called them as soon as we got service, and I was like, oh, we just did the Road to Hana today, blah, blah, blah. I was like, yeah, I've Ba and Pop-Up, though that's their grandparent names. Oh. Have they been there? Because I know they've been to Hawaii a bunch. And my mom's like, oh, let me get Ba, let me see, and my grandmother comes on, and she's like, oh, yeah, we did that. We did it a few times. Like, your Pop-Up loved it. And I was like, well, when were you here last? She goes, 13 years to the day.
Oh, my God.
And I was just like, Jesus Christ. And I just, like all the same familiarity and like, odd, shivers up my spine, and like,
did you tell her about the birds?
Of course, I told her, and it was, she's an Irish Catholic woman, so she's like, Christ, but I was like, yeah, we're all one, man. But yeah, that was like a super psychedelic, kind of ghostly experience.
Wow.
And then a recent one that is much shorter. I was in Aruba doing comedy. And the average age was 112 years old. Everybody is damn near dead in Aruba, and they are all from Massachusetts for some reason. Fucking Donna, get me a pina colada. It's like the native accent. It's ridiculous. So I'm on stage, and like it's the last night, and I finally figured out a cohesive set to work in front of these fucking ancient half-dead fucks. And so I'm just like, I'm crushing, and I turn to one of the guys that like Ray, the host, had been talking to quite a bit and like interacting with, and I turn, and it's my grandpa. Like Pop-Up. I see him in the face. It's his face, and I'm just like thrown. Like I'm like, what the fuck? And I don't say anything. I just continue to do comedy. I'm still looking back at him every once in a while, and it's just him. It's his face, everything, like his glasses, the whole look, haircut, everything, and I'm like, whoa, this is so weird. I finished the set. So we're outside, and we're like meet and greeting these fucking arthritic cunts. And they're just like, this guy, is hobbling out, and he walks past me, and he goes, great show. He looks nothing like my grandfather.
Wow.
Like nothing. Like something in that environment, just
Yeah.
like did patchwork to my vision and interacted with my brain and my subconscious and my memory and projected his face onto this guy's
But
face.
more than once.
I mean, that was like several times throughout the set that I kept looking back and it was just the same. It was my grandpa throughout the entire experience. It was so weird.
Now, do you rationalize that was your brain trying to like put a pattern together, or do you think it was a spiritual thing?
I mean, I'm open to be that would be cool if it was. I do think that my brain is capable of some real fucked up shit, and it probably was that. But who knows? You know, that feeling in Hawaii certainly.
Yeah.
I'm
mean, that's-
super.
What's weird
open to
about that
being
is I
something.
just heard within the last week, I don't know if any of you have heard this before, that when a cardinal lands in front of you, it's somebody dead visiting you. Has anyone ever heard that
Really?
before?
Oh, cool.
Because
apparently it's a thing,
Yeah. I heard that recently as well. One of my
Really?
buddies,
Look it up.
Anthony DiDomenico, was sitting at his mother's bench for Mother's Day, and she passed. And he said, you know, a cardinal came by, and I think he said something similar.
That's
to
who said it. My mother on Mother's Day. Fuck you for synchron. Come on now. I hate
Let's
the
all
world
take
I
our
live in.
lives
It
right
freaks
now.
me out. Yeah.
Or do we do Molly?
It all comes together.